Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. This is Dina. It is November 2nd, and I am here just quickly to talk to you before I hit the road. I am picking up my friend Donna in a little bit, and we are headed out of town for a week's stitching trip. A week long. I'm so excited. It's Big Donna's very first week-long stitching retreat. This is a small group of us who got together. Donna and I were invited to join a group that are meeting as a group of people from different states, but we're all meeting up in Alabama. It's about a 3-hour trip for us, but we're gonna start here, leave here around 1 o'clock today because check-in isn't till 4. And that way we'll be there right at check-in or just a little after. But I wanted to come on and talk to you a tiny bit because yesterday was the first, and I had agreed to start a new start with my friends Lori from Once Upon a Stitch, Dee Abrams, and Donna, and we were going to start something with a tree in it. And I had said I was going to start my second one of the hands-on design tree lot, the tree lot. So I had already stitched this one, and I decided to start this one. And we were to start it on the 1st. I realized that I hadn't done it yet late last night. And as it turned out, my bingo call for today was a Christmas whip. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I actually wound up starting it after midnight, or the time went across midnight. I started it right before midnight. So I got to stitch on it on the 1st for a little bit, but most of my stitches were put in on the 2nd, but I got it done anyway. So when I started it, I only had 120 something stitches, I think, before midnight, and then 129. And then this morning I picked it back up and I put in another 204. So that means I have 234, is that right? Something like that in here. But this is where I've gotten to now. So I am tickled to death to be this far along. And of course, now that I'm stitching on it, I've fallen in love with it and I want to take it with me. So now I have to go cram it into my stitching bag that is overfilled as it is, but that's okay. And I am doing mine in sulky. I have mine in a little travel bag, and I've done my conversion. I'm taking this with me because I am not quite halfway done. I am down to this row right here. So it's a broader band, of course, so it's maybe a little more than half, but I'm already to there. So I'm excited. I want to take it with me in case I get to finish it. We'll see. But it is a little afternoon, and I want to grab a quick bite with my husband and head on over to see Donna and pick her up. And so I'm going to have to make this really brief. But if I get a chance to tape anything while I'm away, I will. But unless I'm on a cruise, I don't always have a private place to do that. And I don't want to capture other people on camera that don't want to be on camera. So if you don't hear from me in this video until I get back, I'll try to make sure I show you everything in order, if at all possible. When I work on things more than once, I'll have to just wait till the second time to share it with you because, of course, that second progress will already be there. But I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for your wishes. A lot of comments on my video that I just put up Monday letting you know I was going to be out of pocket. I had lots of people wish us safe travels, and I thank you for that very much. So I appreciate it, and I will talk to you as soon as I can. Happy stitching, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. It is November the 9th. It is Sunday, and I have just gotten home from a week of stitching with friends, and I want to tell you all about it. Donna and I were blessed to be invited to go to a rented home. We were hosted by a couple of ladies, well, more than that. There were 8 of us in total, but one lady in particular was our host. and did most of the arrangements. And we were invited to join them for a stitching week. And in order to be gone that long, my friend Donna had to agree to work part of each day. So she took her work computer with her, and that worked out just fine. And we stitched the rest of the time. And I got to stitch the whole time, which was awesome. So we got there, or we left to go on that stitching retreat on November the 2nd. But on November the 1st, I had agreed with my friend Lori and my friend Dee that we would start a new start with any project we wanted to do as long as it had a tree in it. So I had pulled out Hands-On Designs, the tree lot, because I stitched this one once before. And I started this on November 1st. Well, I only got 129 stitches in it for the new start. But when we traveled to where we were staying for the week and got there and got situated, nested, made up our place where we were going to stitch for the week, the first thing I pulled out was the tree lot, because I had just started it and I was really excited about working on it. And I put in 661 stitches that evening, and I had my first finish of the retreat. So here it is. There's my second tree in the tree lot series. Isn't that beautiful? Here's the first one. And this is now the second one. I have one more to do. And I am doing this on 28 count dusk from Picture This Plus, which is what I did my Christmas, 12 Days of Christmas stocking ornaments on from Annie B's Folk Art. And I'm hoping to be able to put them on the same tree. You know, all the ornaments on that little tree would be on this same fabric, which I think would look really cute. Now I am stitching mine in sulky. I did a sulky conversion on my own. And I have just one left to do. But that was so fulfilling to start that on the 1st, take it with me, and finish it the first night that we were there. So that was awesome. I apologize for the zipper, but I have a whole lot sitting around me. I'm going to have to do that, I'm afraid. So the next day, on November 3rd, we had an event we call 3 Starts in 3 Hours. I think I've mentioned that before for other retreats I've been to. But this time we had said that we had starts in different categories. And one of them was a new start that was something gifted to you. One was something very old in your stash, and something was very new from your stash. My friend Donna had to work every morning, so while she was getting a little work done that morning and I was waiting to do the 3 starts in 3 hours until she could be with us, I picked up Peacock, my Peacock, and I started stitching on it just a little bit. And it was just a little bit before Donna was able to get down there with us. So this is what it's supposed to look like when it's finished. And when I got there, I had the goal of stitching all of the dark green around every feather I had left, because I just have this side left to do. And I was going to try to do that. And that's what I started on. But Donna got through stitching, or working, pretty quick that morning. And so I only got 56 stitches in this before I had to put it away so that we could do our 3 starts in 3 hours. So as you can see, I just got this little bit of green done before I had to stop. And you can see I just left my thread hanging. I was hoping to get back to this over the course of the week, but as it turned out, I had other plans and it did not manifest. So I'm going on vacation with my son, as you know, in a couple of days, and we will be gone for several days. So this one, Peacock, is going with me on our trip. So I will keep it out because I intend on taking it with me for a little more love. It is one of my 3 months to the finish line. So I do want to try to finish it this year if I can. Then we did our 3 starts in 3 hours. And I'm looking at my notes, so I apologize if I look away. But the first one that I started was called Chicks. And this one met, for me, the gift category, because I was gifted this pattern by my friend Mary Lang. Thank you, Mary. I have now stitched it. It is cute as a button. And so here is the picture for chicks. It's an Easter piece. And I have found this beautiful little remnant of Sprite Belfast linen. Colorscapes is what it's called. It's from Picture This Plus. But I think this is pretty, and I still have enough to do another small on it. But this is mine. It says Chicks. And I don't think, the only thing I did differently from the pattern, I believe, is that I left off the beads. I didn't think it needed it. And so that was a start, and later in the week, a finish. So this was the first of my 3 starts in 3 hours. I didn't finish it when I started it. I finished it later in the week. But I can't really show it to you without showing you the whole thing since it's finished. But this was finish number 2 for me. So there's Chicks. So then my second start was the Exceedingly Diligent. That's what I'm calling it. But it is, in all things, the Exceedingly Diligent. I've had this one. This one was the one that was in my stash for a long time because I think it was a 2010 or something print. 2018, not that old, but I've had it since 2018. And I'll show you what the pattern looks like in its entirety because mine's not going to look like this. So remember I had said, I think in my last video, that I tried to look at swapping out this fabric and I didn't have anything long enough? I sure didn't. The only piece I had that was this long was very narrow. So when I measured it, I could not fit this whole design on that piece of fabric and have any margin for framing. So since it is a lot of alphabets, I left off the top one. I just left it off. It gave me about 15 or so stitches, which was just enough for the margin at the top that I needed. And then I stitched while we were gone this entire row, alphabet and numbers, and got that done. And then I looked at where I was on the fabric, and I have realized that I'm going to need to leave out, I think for my comfort level, I'm going to leave out this line here. And then that means I'm going to take out some of these motifs at the top up here. But I have looked at the different motifs and I like some better than others. So I am going to leave out this little bird right here, this bee and that, and I'm going to move the swan down right here because I like the swan. I think the swan is pretty. And then this motif, this Quaker symbol behind the house, is too tall. That has to go. So instead of that being behind the house, I very well may put the bee skep right here. But that will just make everything fit from there down because it'll drop this down a few spaces about the size of that row. And I will still have 2 complete alphabets on here, and I'll still have all of this pretty stitching here, and I'll still have the majority of this. So I'll have the gist of it, but it will be just slightly smaller because my fabric is just too thin. It wouldn't leave me enough margin otherwise. And I discovered while I was stitching on it, this is a 32 count lamb's wool. As I was stitching on it, it was just shredding. It was unraveling. So I've got to, I didn't take the time to stitch around it, but I've got to do that now. So I sit all the way back. You can see how long it is. This is quite long. This was longer than my fabrics when I get a fat quarter or a fat half. They're only 36 inches long, and this one needed to be 30. I think it was 36 inches long in the design itself. So you had no room on either end if you do that. So this one was longer. I'm sure this was a big piece I cut in half, and I did it probably as a wall hanging this way, and that's why it was long enough to do this one on. But I did all of that. Not right when I started it. When I started it, I think I stitched to the J, and I had just put a few stitches in the J when I stopped. And then when I picked it back up, I did all the way through the Z. And then later in the week, I picked it back up and I finished all the way to the end of the row. And that's when I started really looking at what's going to fit on here. As you can see, it's quite thin. When I measured it, it looked like it would fit, and it probably would if I put it way up at the top and have just a tiny, tiny margin up here. It would probably have fit. But I had it on my roll, my Q-snaps, and to get it around the Q-snap, I had to put it down a little bit, and so I knew I was going to have to leave something out. And now I've kind of figured that out, so I'm going to make copies, cut and paste them, and have my pattern all fixed up. But that is my second new start, and I'm calling it Due Diligence, just to shorten the name of it. But I got to stitch on that 3 different times, which was amazing. I enjoyed that a lot. That was the beauty of us starting 3 things right away, the second day of the retreat, because then we had it to stitch on throughout the week. And as you can tell, I was able to do that with this one twice more. So I worked on it 3 times while we were there. Then my final start for the day was from my tiny town, my Patriotic tiny town. And as you recall, if you've been watching, I am stitching it in parts. I'm stitching it for ornaments. And what I was doing was taking the tiny town and the frill. So here is my working copy of the tiny town. So this is what the thing looks like if you do it all together. And then here's the little frill. And I took the frill to stitch it as an ornament, and then I decided I liked that size when I started looking at it, and I split this up into 4 separate ornaments, and I got them to work out to be 30 by 40, every one of them. So I had stitched 3 of them before I left, and so I made that my new start that was new out of my stash because I hadn't had it long. And I went ahead and I stitched up my 4th ornament, my 4th tiny town ornament. And I was really tickled that I had it done. It was the one that has the free written on the house. That was the one I started, and during the week I finished it. And in fact, when I started that one, I just kept stitching on it that day because we were through with our new starts until I finished it. So this was a start and stop in one day right there. So that was lovely. Then on the 4th, we started working on other things. One was I had to do my bingo calls. And so I was able to do that. But before I put away my Patriotic stitch, let's jump ahead. Let's jump ahead to November the 8th, the day before we came home. I was looking for something to stitch. I knew I wasn't close enough on anything to get a finish. And I remembered, hey, I've been wanting to do an extra 4th of July or Patriotic start each month so that I don't have to do 2 a month all the way through July, and because I've got some big ones I want to start. So I thought, I still have that frill that I need to stitch in the tiny town. So I pulled it back out, and this was a start and finish on the 8th. I did all of it in one night, one day. It took me most of the day, but I got it done. So both of these were done as starts and finishes, and I'm really tickled about that. But I got them taken care of, and that was my extra Patriotic start, I believe, for the month. I got to go back and count it up, but I think it was. So now back on to how things took place. The next thing I want to share with you is my December quilt, because that was what I had to stitch on for our theme of the day. Our theme of the day was to stitch on something that was going to be gifted. Oh, no, I think that was my call in my bingo. Anyway, I worked more on my December quilt, and I got this whole section of the wagon completed. I got all of this part of the quilt that hadn't been stitched yet, the bow, all the way, some of this beside the bow, and some of this on down in here I had to stitch. And I went ahead and got started some on the wagon wheel and some of the other wooden pieces of the gears and that sort of thing, the sticks that are used to guide it. But anyway, I got a lot more of that done, and I actually did 606 stitches on it in one day. And guess what? My monthly requirement this month is to get 500 stitches in it, and I've done that. So this met a monthly requirement while I was there, which was awesome. I never expected to get to do that. So let me wrap this protective cover around here, and we'll go from there. So that was the December quilt. Now, I had hoped I would get to pull it back out and put another big chunk of stitching into it, and I didn't get to. So that may have to travel with me as well. But the next thing that I worked on, I decided to work on something. It was getting later in the evening, and I had to work on something for my bingo call. The next bingo call was something with an animal in it. And so I chose my ode to a good dog because it has an animal in it. It has a little puppy dog in it. And I put a lot of stitches into this. I did stitch on this more than once. I stitched on it a couple of times. It seemed to be something I gravitated toward later in the day when I was more tired, because it's easier to read. The pattern is very easy to read. But I did 512 stitches on it on the 4th. And then when I stitched on it again, I did another 244 stitches. So what is that? 752, something along those lines. I'm just doing that off the top of my head, so it might not be right because math. But anyway, here's where I got to. I am tickled to death with that progress. I had mentioned the last time I showed you this piece that I was going to stitch on the dog in the tree next and keep working my way across. Well, I did the dog in the tree, and then I decided I would pick up the floor because that's an easy pattern to stitch. And I went ahead and stitched that. And so that's one of the colors. There are 2 colors in the floor. That's one of them. And I am 1 column away from the page break there. The house starts with the next little column of flooring. And so I needed to move my Q-snap over, and I just didn't do it. I just kept stitching on that floor till I got to where I couldn't do it anymore without moving it. But I felt like that really pushed that forward quite a bit. I was tickled, very tickled to get that far. Then the next day, we had an assignment to stitch. We were told to spend some time with our oldest whip. So for me, that is Autumn in the Village. So I pulled out my Autumn in the Village. I'll remind you of what that looks like. I've got the thing open to the color key. But this is my Autumn in the Village. And I was working on this end down here toward the cart. I started in the middle, and I've been working my way toward this side, and then I'll go back here and finish it. So, Autumn in the Village got 382 stitches in it. And that means it has a new look to it, just a little bit. This one I took off of a roller frame recently to take it somewhere, and I've just never put it back on. But anyway, this is You can see I started in the middle and went one direction. So I have finished it all the way out to the end as far as the bottom part. And this time I started right here. I had this house done to right here. So I did the whole top floor and part of the roof on this house. This is actually one of the colors in the roof. And then there's 2 chimneys on top of it. And that house will be stitched. And it's the last house. And then you can see I've got a tree trunk coming up here. There's a fall tree right next to it. And then I have backstitched this house, but I haven't backstitched anything else. So once I finish stitching this end, I think I'm gonna go ahead and backstitch it all the way to the end. And then I'll come down here and do that end. This is something I would like to finish next year in 2026. It will probably be on my year of whips. I'm hoping that would be doable. So that was good, 382 stitches. Then I wanted to do something new and different. And I thought, well, I had all my whips I had with me except this one were designated for something I felt like was going to be called on my bingo call or was an assignment that I had from the lady who was sponsoring the trip. So I looked into what I had brought with me and I had thrown this in my bag and I was so grateful that I did. And let me find it for you. I had started this Biscornu, one part of it, down in, this is the Teresa Kogut booklet. I've made a working copy of the whole book because I want to do them all, but you know, I had finished this, but I did it on a red fabric. So now I had to start this, and I had gone into my stash and I had found a beautiful lamb's wool linen, and I started it. So I put in just 149 stitches on the first time I touched it. And then the next day I stitched on it again and I put in 568 stitches. So that's how far I got on that. I'm really making progress on that one. I'm excited about that. So here's what it's supposed to look like, and that's me getting there. So getting started. It looks interesting because this color right here that I started the vine with, I ran out of it. I didn't check before I left to make sure I had ample of all the colors, and after stitching the first one, I was pretty low on that one, and I used it till I used it up, and then I went to a different color. But that was another, if you're counting, another Patriotic start. So I may, if I look today and find it out to validate that, I may have 2 extra starts in the month of November. Very excited about that. So that was the next day. I did that on the 5th with Autumn in the Village. On November 6th, I had to stitch something that was that had an animal in it, and I chose Kind and Gentle. I had taken this with me, and this was one of my Christmas in July starts. I'm looking for a picture to share with you. Here it is. The booklet's turned inside out. Here we go. This is what Kind and Gentle is going to look like. And I had started up here, and I had this banner, and I had a couple of the letters done, and I had part of the bird done when I took off for my trip. And I am happy to say that I put in 315 stitches on this one before I changed projects. So now, this is where I got to. So I finished the bird, and then I came and did all the little squares that are dotted around it, and I did the letters B, M, W, I also think I did UV. I don't think those were done yet. And I did the dots, the little squares around it. So I got in quite a bit, 396, almost 400 stitches in it. I'm really happy with that. And again, I was concentrating on where my Q-snap would allow me to work, in case you were wondering why it's looking the way it is. I'm not going straight across like I normally do. So that felt good to get to work on another one of my Christmas in July starts. I enjoyed that a lot. On November 7th, my call was to work on something that was going to be a gift stitch. And so I pulled out the one for my sister. So sister, I need you to look away, please. I'm going to remind everybody else again what I'm stitching for my sister. And I was able this time to put in 396 stitches before I changed projects. And the reason I changed one I did is because this picture is sort of symmetrical, if you will. And so I wound up doing this little section here and this little section here on both sides. Completed both of those. So that's taking shape. So now it is absolutely done all the way down to about right here. And then I'll start picking up from there on. And I'm trying to do the same thing on each side as I go so that it stays symmetrical as I go down the object. But I really had a good time. And the ladies that could see it, you can look back now, Stephanie. The ladies could see it in person, said, oh my gosh, the sparkle does not show on the camera, and it's beautiful. So they really, really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed getting to work on it. So that was amazing. We had to work on, for one of our assignments, we had on this day to stitch on something seasonal. So before we left, my friend Donna and I were talking, and she said, oh, this freebie we got from Primrose Cottage is super, super cute, and it says, hello, autumn. So she said, that would be a fun one to do for our seasonal stitch, and we could do it together. And I said, yes, we could. So she brought the floss, because she had it all, and because it was all overdized. And she had them in her stash, and she brought them. So I took 3 fabrics with me to audition for with the group to say, which fabric do you think would look the best? And the funny thing is, I think the majority of the group liked a different pattern of fabric more, but Donna and I both liked this one the best. And it's my project. So they said, oh, stitch it on the one you like the best. So I did. And this is called Velt. By Picture This Plus, and it's 36 count belt, and this is a freebie from Primrose Cottage. And to get it, you go and sign up for her newsletter, and she'll send you a freebie on the first Friday, I think, of every month. And so this is Hello Autumn, and it was a start and finish for me. So that's 1, 2, 3. This was number 4, I guess. I believe so. Anyway, that was that fall one. I think it's really cute. I hope you can see it close enough. But I felt like it went really pretty on this fabric. So now, that was an unplanned start and finish. The 4th of July extra was an unplanned start and finish. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, to stitch that was 1,123 stitches, and I did it in one day. I did it from morning to night till I finished it. Okay, that is the story of the stitching, because on the 8th, we didn't have any assignments to do, and the one that was called for my bingo call is to stitch on something with a person in it, and I didn't have anything with a person in it with me. So sometime tonight or tomorrow I'll have to catch up and stitch on something with a person in it, which for me I think is going to be Let Love Rain. And I didn't take that one with me. And so I'll have to do that and post it. But that is the stitching that I did. So a week's worth at one time, that's hard. I'm used to doing this every day and getting it done and taken care of, you know. But I wanted to share it with you, everything that we did. I wanted to see if I could find some of my things too. Secret stitchers that we did, the gifts that we did. I received some really cute things, and I just was going to share a couple of them with you. First of all, our hostess had a little box for each of us, and she had put some goodies in the box. I've added to it, so I'm going to take out what she had not put in there. But she had it wrapped, and when we opened it up, we had this cute little travel storage box. We had a packet of Kleenex that has a zippered pouch that holds it. I think this is really cute. We had a piece of snack, and we had some curls, and we had a couple of pencils for marking, and I thought this was great. So I had added to it over the weekend and kept it on my little table next to me for my stitching. And one of my friends gave me a circle of this gripper because my Q-snips kept sliding down in my floor stand, and that helped. And so I was really grateful for that. And then when we started opening our gifts, one of my gifts from my secret stitcher were these socks. And these are so cute, but these are special socks. They're double layer cozy socks. They have aloe in them. And when you get out of your shower at night, you put these on and wear them to bed, and they help, put some softness in your feet. So these were warm and soft, and I haven't used them yet. I'm excited about that. And then I've got some scissor tip protectors. I think these are precious. And then they're called Pretty Daisies. And then this was one of the things I was excited about. This is an acrylic finishing stand. I had been looking for these because I wanted to do these instead of flat folds. I wanted to make a flat finish with a pocket on the back that would just slide over these, and it would just allow them to stand up and hold your project. So I can't wait to try that out. Then one of the things my secret stitcher gave me was a Sajou album, and it is alphabets. It's monogrammed alphabets. Stands like this. I love a good monogram, and so this will give me a great pattern for stitching my initials on packages. And this one's going to be noisy, but I'll try to get it out without too much. But this was a wonderful candle, and it says Santa's Cookies, and it smells just like sugar cookies. It's wonderful. I can't wait to put it under my lamp so I can get my room up here just smelling like Christmas. And then we played a fun game, and I'm going to steal it unabashedly. I'm going to take it and do it at my next retreat that I sponsor. But in that game, we had, you've seen it probably on YouTube, you have a roll of toilet paper in the middle of the table, and you have strings attached to something. In this case, our hostess had made these cute little tags. So you had one attached to the ribbon that went through the toilet paper and one on a bag. So we had bags sitting across the table. They had different things on them. I happened to win a turkey each time. One had a light background, one had a dark green background. But you pick one of the ribbons, and when you pull it, the piece that was attached to it, which was this little tag looking thing, it pulls it forward, and you know which one to go get. So that becomes your gift. And then you open it up and you get what's there. And I have like candies and pretty little gadgets. Here is an example. This is what it looked like. And that was laid underneath a roll of toilet paper and then pulled back up through and laid over. So they weren't in order, you know, all around the table. She had mixed the ribbons all up underneath that toilet paper, and what you pulled wasn't necessarily the one you thought you were getting. So I've seen it on YouTube where they did it with Christmas bows, and the bows were on top of a red Solo cup, and then they got whatever was in the Solo cup, and some of it was good and some of it was gag gifts. It was really cute. We didn't have any gag gifts. Our hostess didn't do that to us, but I got these cute little gifts. I got candy in both of mine and something else, and so that was a lot of fun. One of the things I also got is Bloom Where You're Planted. This is a beautiful journal. I love this. This is really sweet, and it has scriptures on each day, and I really, really like this. And this is probably going to be my travel journal for our cruise that we're going on. So I'm going to do that. I'm excited about that. And I love these pens that are erasable. And so these are erasable and retractable Pilot Friction print pens in different colors. I love them. And this was really sweet that I got that, so I can use that in my journal in case I make a mistake. And then the final gift, we got our final gift and a card that revealed who our secret stitcher was. So I got this small bag, and it came with a kit. I got a meal pill kit. And isn't this funny? Donna and I and our friends Dee and Lori are stitching Christmas sweaters. We're all stitching a bunch of Christmas sweaters. And here I have a kit for one. I think that's great. And I've got this already in here so that it's ready to go. So my secret stitcher spoiled me rotten. I had a great secret stitcher. I had a great time with the games. And so, as you can tell, I had a really, really good trip. It was a good trip. So now let's talk just briefly about where we are on things and what are plans. So I am about to go on another trip to vacation with our son, my husband and I, and so I'm going to put all of this, I got to take pictures and post all of what this meets, because this has met a bunch of my acrostics and my daily 30 and everything. And so I've got my form here. I've got to take my pictures of all of the stitching that I just showed you and the stitch counts and whatnot, and I need to post them in all the places that I need to do that in. And then I can sit back and say, what are the rest of my acrostic needs for the month? What do I need to take with me so that I can accomplish a couple of those if I get any stitching time? I'm anticipating a little stitching time. My son and husband are going to take bike rides together at least once. And so I'm hoping that at least on that day, I'll have a couple of hours, if not a little more, of stitching time. And then if we decide to watch a TV show in the evening, I can sit and stitch over to the side at the dining room table, because the light shouldn't interfere with us watching TV, and I can still see everything and hear everything. So I'm right there with the family, but I could be stitching as well. So I need to do that, and I'm going to do that as soon as I get off of here, because my husband's on his way back from purchasing the bike rack that we needed so we could take our bicycles with us for the bike ride for he and my son. And so I'm going to do that now. But thank you so much for letting me wax on and on about my stitching over the last week. I don't usually have it all bundled up like this, but you know, when I travel, if I'm not in a place where I have a space that's private, I don't record. I don't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. And so I just didn't record this last week, but I took notes and I did share everything with you. And I am thrilled with the progress, you know, that I had. So I think that's wonderful. Anyway, I hope you've had a great week. I'm looking forward to meeting a friend for lunch tomorrow and then helping Donna move a couple of bookcases around in her apartment on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, my husband and I take off to pick up our son to go on vacation. So I've got a quick short week ahead, so I got to get busy. But I will be stitching every chance I get, and I'll share it with you. Happy stitching, everybody. Stop. There's a choice of balls.
Super excited. Does he tear up his toys?
So this is what Donna was getting out from under the couch for Harley. Look at him go. Woo, he's going hard. He'll have that one de-skinned before you know it.